I got a 20-year sentence, and I have like 12 left, and I will be placed in the community shortly.
That's what a hospital is for. We have temporary conditions that are capable of healing.
When you are in a micro society where a lot of the normal boundaries that you have are really thrown a loop, people start getting challenged. Okay, and it can bring out the best in people and it can bring out the worst in people.
A lot of people were scared to go to prison because they're scared of the horror stories they hear from prison. I was kind of scared myself to go to prison.
I'm in this part because of a tragic freak accident, you know, and so therefore I'm in the mental health system because I was found innocent by reason of an insanity plea.
I don't like the razor wire fences. I rarely ever go outside the yard. However, the razor wire provides some comfort.
My doctor warned me, 'cause he always warns me. I live life in a big picture view, holding blocks of all shapes, 'cause we're all of all shapes, and I force them and make them go through. Well, they've said it before, and I can't.
Okay, my friend, let's go.
They said that you guys were going to do interviews of people. Would it be possible for me to interview? 4 days after my 20th birthday, I committed the crime that got me here, which is attempted murder. I tried to strangle somebody that I thought was my friend, and she turned on me. She was actually a staff. I kept telling them that they needed to hospitalize me. I needed to be restrained. I was going to hurt somebody or I was going to hurt myself. And they refused to allow me to go to the hospital.
I went to Oregon State, majored in chemical engineering, and I had a great time. I was in a fraternity. But then a dark, gloomy cloud just overcame me, and I developed an illness. It was just like I was, you know, sucked under an undertow in the river. I think I blamed my father for a lot of my problems, most of my problems, all of my problems. He threatened me, and then I just kind of lost control and was trying to protect my life when it happened. I was disturbed when I pulled the trigger on my dad.
I can remember just being up on the roof and working and everything, and then at a moment's notice I remember being grabbed, not having full visual sight, being irritated and frustrated, and dropping 2 stories through a couple of trusses. I did pull out my hammer and I swung out in front of me, still in this black unconscious visual. I was kind of in a confused state of mind still. I think I remember calling my brother and telling him that I was going to be arrested. I'm not there to run. I'm not tired of what I have to deal with in my life. There were attempted murder charges. There were assault charges. Supposedly I tried to kill this guy with a hammer, but I can't, in my mind, process that.
Before he went to high school, Nick was an honor roll student, one of the most popular kids in the school. You know, he was really involved. He played baseball, basketball, football, fished and hunted. Once he got to high school, I started to see a change, and And I think it was actually an onset of bipolar. I was smoking marijuana, but not that much. And I felt real, like nothing could touch me. I was manic, and I had like 4 car accidents in 3 days. I actually went down a gravel road with my foot to the pedal at like 2 in the morning. I gassed it, and I just let go of the wheel, and I just listened to music.
Against the sky, I sit and wonder why. And then I stroll down the corridor and into my room.
I was being stalked by my son's father. It was turning into a really bad situation as far as trying to keep the home stable. He would take the car apart so I couldn't drive it. He would go through the grocery list and tell me every day of what I shouldn't have bought. It was a period of time where I couldn't find myself, and things were falling apart. I was scared that something bad was going to happen, as far as my son running away or violence, and it eventually happened, and it was me that did it.
Everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows.
1, 2, 3, 4. You've got at least 5 arrests for assault.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
5 fights, huh? Rocky Marciano's got 40 and he's a millionaire.
That's true.
That is true.
I bought a gun, and I was going to use it to end my own life, and it wasn't intended ever to harm my son with. He was a hard child to take care of, and well, with my problems, it seemed like it was hard. Detectives were questioning me if there was blood anywhere. They wanted me to put something on over me. I said, this is what I did this, and they said, no, you didn't do this, did you? And I said, yes, I did.
The best way to get mental health treatment for a lot of people who don't have families that are watching out for them, or people who can pay for their care, is unfortunately for them to get arrested.
I was arrested in Tualatin on the job that I was working at. I don't know the process of what happened that day. I got to jail. I did the fingerprint and pictures. They gave me a room. I went into their main area where everybody kind of interacts together, and I just couldn't handle it in there the way I thought, how I perceived things. My mind just spun kind of quick.
When they were fingerprinting me, I passed out, and when I woke up in the morning, not knowing much of anything that had happened, I was in an orange inmate jumpsuit.
This is the maximum security mental unit. We have 10 bodies in here, and it's usually always full. So if we get a vacancy, within minutes or hours, we'll have somebody to take that room. In our training, and I don't agree with this stat, they said that 17% of the inmates that come in have some form of mental illness. I think it's more upwards of 60 to 65%. I've had, I think, 8 to 16 hours of training in 12 years, and 8 of it was last week.
Last week, yep. Most of the education will come from them or from a nurse coming through and just asking questions.
Yeah. They were going to tase me in the head, and then I had brain damage, 50,000 volts in your head when they had me in handcuffs and the knee in my back. I was taken into a room and put in the solitary confinement and given a bologna sandwich.
He needed help, and the only way we could get him any help was to take him to the state hospital. And the only way he could go to the state hospital was if he committed a crime.
You want to come down to music group?
You're going down to the music room?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're going to be in the group, man. All right. Cool.
I was thinking of a friend that I once knew.
The unit I work on is an admissions unit for men. So the men that come there have been charged with some kind of crime, and they've been sent to the hospital by the judge because they were unable to aid and assist their attorney in their own defense. And they're coming directly from the jail, and many times they've been in solitary confinement or on restriction, and so they're in a reclusive mode. They withdraw, and all of a sudden they're brought to this hospital, and they're put on this unit with all these other guys and all the staff and all the stuff going on, and it's a shock. Sometimes they've lost everything. Their families have kind of left them, abandoned them. They may be homeless. And there's a processing of grief that's happening. So sometimes I'll sing a song, and one time I remember a guy just was crying. And it was the first day he'd come to the group. And so when the song finished, I asked him, wow, you had a strong reaction to that song. And he said, yeah, it just reminded me of the life I don't have anymore.
His words ring in my mind.
I think he's dangerous. He's not crazy, but he's dangerous.
You don't think he's crazy?
No, he's not crazy.
Dr. Sanji?
I don't think he's overly psychotic, but I still think he's quite sick.
You think he's dangerous?
Absolutely so.
Give me the 3 main plea options, not the mental health ones.
Okay, 3 plea options: guilty, not guilty, and no contest.
Guilty, not guilty. Figuring out whether a patient chooses to plead guilty except for insanity or take a different plea is a challenging dilemma for a lot of the patients. If you plead guilty except for insanity, you get the maximum time possible, and you're also saying you're guilty. So the trial is over.
It's just like pleading guilty.
Guilty except insane, or the insanity defense, generally is sort of a last resort of the criminal defense attorney for a number of reasons. The first is that it's not a very good deal in most cases. The person often ends up in the state hospital for much longer than they would have gone to jail or prison. I've often referred to these systems as pachinko machines, and it sort of gets to the basic idea of how really difficult it is to get a case dismissed once it's been charged by a district attorney. And it also gets to kind of the random nature of the way it must feel to a person who has mental illness going through the system.
They decided they would give me a deal and write up the paperwork. If I want to sign the paperwork, then I could go to the state hospital. If not, that was my choice. I would probably go through a state hearing and probably be convicted and go to a prison.
If I would have gone to prison, I would have served 70 years in prison. Because I had 3 Measure 11 crimes. They got me on 3, even though I don't remember, and somebody said I only tried to strangle her once, but they said I got my hands around her 3 times. So they charged me with attempted murder ×3.
The decision about whether somebody should get released is not simply a medical decision. People are punished as a proportional response to the seriousness of the crime. That is the first traditional reason why people are sentenced. That's why crimes like murder and aggravated murder and rape and all sorts of other crimes have very long sentences because of the seriousness of the crime.
Traditionally, the insanity defense meant that that you weren't guilty, that the person might have taken actions which we would normally consider criminal, but because of their insanity, because of their mental illness. This was not somebody who morally, as a society, we were willing to prosecute and put through the criminal justice system and place in prison.
And I think I was in the state hospital just over a year for 370 before I went back to the jail for almost another year. They evaluated me that I was okay to go back because I could give them the definition to the word. And I guess they felt that that was competent enough to go back to court. But I don't think I fully understand the meaning of the process of it.
He came to Oregon State Hospital for his first admission under ORS 161.370, and during that admission, the treating physician felt that he was still psychotic based on an interest in numbers and codes. If you ask him questions that involve some degree of processing and thought, there's a sense in which it tends to be excessively and overly logical, which you might think would be helpful, but actually you have to kind of pay extra attention to think through what he's saying.
When they did like searches in our room, they would just take whatever they want. And the one things that they couldn't take was our official papers. When I was writing down certain things in the books that I wanted to know or I read about and I wanted to keep in my mind to keep my mind busy, I kind of agree with their diagnosis, but I don't think I have it extreme.
What is psychotic about your thinking?
That the way I go about and do things aren't of the norm.
Yes, at this time we're stipulating to the propriety of your jurisdiction over my client in that she does suffer from a mental disease or defect which, when active, can cause her to represent a substantial danger to others.
As ridiculous as those numbers look, and I see you looking at your list of incidents over the course of the last several months, that's actually lower, and the severity of the incidents is less severe in general than in the first year that I knew her.
You still couldn't call it low, though.
No, I won't call it low, and the problem with the setting that she's in is an inpatient hospital with a very chaotic unit in which there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of fights, there's a lot of violence, there are a lot of very traumatizing things that happen on the unit, unfortunately.
On the other hand, with that record of behavior, it's difficult to find a place where you could say with certainty, hey, she's going to be okay in your setting.
Those folks who do end up at the state hospital, having successfully asserted the insanity defense, end up caught between the mental health system and the criminal justice system in many ways. And right from their perspective, that must seem particularly random. The whole system is stuck right now. We're getting way too many people that are falling through the cracks and becoming acute at the front end. And at the back end, it's stuck because no matter what the clinicians decide, they can't move them out of the hospital until the PSRB decides that they should do that.
Medication time. Medication time.
You will find many of the staffs working for Oregon State Hospital, including myself, not see this place as a prison. I do uphold and I strive to work for this place to remain as a hospital. I think we play a role and are assigned by the law. We don't see ourselves as part of the criminal justice system.
Pills, and I drink some juice with it. Sometimes they add a little to my juice too. And then I say thank you, There's a wastebasket in there.
That is.
Throw it away.
All right, yep.
And then I go on with my
See you
day.
later.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I actually grew up here. My father was the head of the hospital. So from the time I was a tiny child until now, I have been cruising around these wards.
This patient can be calmed down by a continuous tub and hydrotherapy.
How's the temperature running, Jim?
It's running about 98 degrees, Chief.
Better raise it to 100. Man's been pretty excited this morning.
Okay.
So I would see various procedures going on. It was not uncommon to see patients being put in restraints. It was not uncommon to see patients getting their medications or having ECT. We used to accept voluntary patients who would come to the door and say, I'm feeling sick. Or their family would bring them and say, they're acting funny. Or the police would bring them. Many of our patients are on multiple medications, including multiple neuroleptics, which are the drugs that are used primarily for schizophrenia and psychosis. This is a difficult problem, as you can imagine, particularly when you add in mood stabilizers such as lithium, valproate, Tegretol, in addition to the multiple neuropsychiatric drugs such as the antipsychotics. Then you add in some antidepressants and a whole lot of other medications that are not used specifically for a psychiatric illness, but used for agitation or anxiety.
I was on 3 different kinds of medication, and it made me have panic attacks, and these were lasting for half hour, and I had neurological problems with the medication and increased restlessness and severe depression.
Ms. Thomas has progressed quite a bit from the time that I assumed her care in September. At that time, she had difficulty with some disorganized thinking, some paranoia, more emotional kind of ups and downs, would often become quite upset with peers, and we were having trouble with medication. She was at that time on quetiapine. Our clinical suspicion, which has been verified by several staff as well as the report of some patients, was that Ms. Thomas has difficulty with purging behavior. And we think that's probably the reason why the medication was having trouble being absorbed properly.
There are various really significant side effects with most of our medications. If we take a syndrome called akathisia, and this occurs with all neuroleptics, and that's a sensation of kind of this internal anxiety that you got to keep moving. You got to. I can't sit still. I have to keep moving. If I don't move, something's not right.
Surprise!
Hey, Nick.
What's up,
Come on, bro.
Oh.
How you doing, honey?
Good to see you, buddy.
I keep forgetting that Nick's diabetic now.
Yeah, but I'm really good, dude. My blood sugar and, I mean, everything is just like...
You're on medication. It's like, don't
I'm
worry about
still
me and my blood pressure.
I'm still taking
on...
Abilify that gives you diabetes, so that, I mean, so, you know, it's just going to make it worse.
That makes no sense.
Well, it does because it works for me. The medication works for me, so I don't want to get off it. And as long as my diabetes is doing good.
So you're basically saying taking the lesser of 2 evils. It's the time missing from your family is the biggest deal.
Time missing from my life is the biggest deal.
Yeah.
He came to Oregon State Hospital for his first admission under ORS 161.370, and he was treated with Haldol involuntarily. He became less involved in treatment and instead took to his room and stayed in bed and refused to speak with people. When they stopped giving him Haldol, he became more involved in treatment and went to groups and participated more actively and spoke with staff. He's taken the information that I've provided him, including handouts about the different medicines, and continues to arrive at the conclusion that he does not want psychotropic medicines Instead, he wants to work on his recovery through psychosocial treatment interventions. A question comes up about what to do at this point, whether to proceed with a referral for a placement or whether to wait him out until he agrees to take antipsychotic medicine, which might not ever happen.
The side.
Let's go ahead and take a nice, slow, deep breath in. Let it out.
It's a point system, and we have to earn our way through our treatment.
Using your hand.
And it's a positive thing. It gets you motivated.
What work are you doing?
I'm doing bench work program, and it's something I find very interesting.
And what kind of work are you doing?
I'm cleaning boxes for screws, and I've done 1,020 screws yesterday, and I plan on doing more.
I look back at, when, between the time that I, first came into worked at the hospital and the second time. And the second time, there was the razor wire that had gone up all around the place. And there was the double gates. When you went into the place, the doors closed with a loud bang. And that meant you are a prisoner now. When you're by the visitor center, which those gates were, and you have those doors banging all of the time, and you've got a mental illness, what's that do with your mental illness? Is it going to make you more likely to get healthy? It actually exacerbates symptoms.
You have the double foamy part that goes over the ankle, then the opposite, and then you bring the Velcro over.
Anytime a patient's in a restraint situation, they're giving up their dignity and respect, and you have to do everything that you can to be respectful of who they are, and you don't know their history, and you don't know what PTSD issues that they may have prior to coming in the hospital.
Average length of time, would you say it's less than 2 hours?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think statistically it's way under 2 hours.
I was thinking more like under 4, maybe.
If you argued with the staff, they would say side room or your room, which is it? And that's the way they talk to you. Within a minute of it, they go, you got 30 seconds, and if you don't hurry up, then we're taking you to the side room. If it was an argument, and the argument turned into a big deal. The side room is where they put you in a room that gives you a timeout for at least a half hour to an hour and a half or two. And then it changes into seclusion and restraints, which is 2 other rooms, and those are there to restrain you. If they felt that it was that serious enough, seems like they would just do it out of the blue. They did with me. Out of the blue, used 4-point restraints on me, and I think it was the worst thing I ever went through.
How do you feel this morning? Not so good. Well, the doctor's ordered a treatment for you again this morning. You'll feel better after you get your treatment. Get it good and tight down to the foot, please.
I more prefer restraints to seclusion, and that's only because I have the power to fight against the restraints a little bit. I have issues with cutting, and we can tell my hair's different.
Do you have any memory of when you pulled your hair out?
I do. I have a lot of memory of it. I remember how the staff got me to stop. I kept rocking back and forth, saying it's all my fault, it's all my fault, it's all my fault. And the staff did like the Goodwill Hunting famous scene, he comes in slowly and says, "It's not your fault." And says it again and again and again until he could get me to look at him. And then once he said it again, whatever crisis in my head had subsided. This is what they call body armor. And what it is tight spandex clothes, really tight. And this I find is more helpful than restraints because it gives you some of the same feeling, like somebody's holding you. And it doesn't hurt at any point in time. So if you're feeling that jittery stuff going on, the body armor takes over because it feels like somebody's holding you, like you're getting a great big hug and somebody's holding you. And, people who didn't have a motherly person in their life, or even a fatherly person in their life, that would do that, would hold you or hug you or whatever, then this type of stuff is very, very helpful.
We have to buy our own bus passes with our own money. So it costs $2.50 to buy a bus pass to go out to the street here, take the bus into the city. Then we come back here, and as we're walking up, we're asked to give our bus passes back to them. It was a security breach to have a bus pass. I took the bus ticket and I ripped it up and I handed it back. I said, "Well, no one can escape now."
There were two elopements. Elopement is kind of a funny word because you picture two people running off to Las Vegas together, but it's the term of art around here for an escape. The first one was when a patient escaped from maximum security, true maximum security, and the second elopement occurred when one of the patients in this outing took off and was recovered within 8 minutes. The fact that these two incidents were separated by just a couple of weeks, I think crossed some critical threshold for what the public was willing to tolerate or what people at the hospital perceived the public as being willing to tolerate.
One person can lose their privileges for 500 other patients that are either working towards them or already have them. It didn't matter how well you were doing, everybody got their privileges pulled.
They lost a lot, and it's ironic. It's not ironic, it's sad, because many of the people who were exercising these privileges had been exercising those privileges for years without incident. And therefore, I don't know how to conclude anything other than their risk was effectively managed with the privileges they had. If a person commits a murder, the public is pretty afraid of that person, and they want to do everything they can to make sure that they're safe. Right? But when you step back and you look at the actual numbers, since we are talking about murder, murder is statistically a very, very low rate of reoffense. Most people who commit a murder don't go on to commit another murder. And it's not just because don't have opportunity. First, when you kill a person, most people find that to be a fairly traumatizing experience.
I lost my job and kind of career I had when I went to Salem to stay at the hospital. And that's what affected me the most, is I lost my employment and everything. You know, and I lost my father also. That's a time of mourning, grief, you know, of course. And I lost track of a lot of my family and everything like that, too.
You didn't observe any signs during the trip of a reemergence of his mental illness?
If he looks at the sun, it's a sure sign that within an hour or two, he's going to go manic.
Well, my dad doesn't understand my mental disease totally. I think when he saw me staring at the sun, I think that's when I was actually on Zyprexa, which ended up being the wrong medication for me, and I think I was manic at the time. I can understand where he comes from when he thinks that's, oh, he's going to go over the edge, but that's not. I try not to stare at the sun anymore. That's what I'm trying to get at.
There is a state of safety that is not attainable. How we can ensure that our borders are never violated? How can we check every single container to the last screw to make sure that somebody's not smuggling something that they shouldn't? We live in places surrounded by elements out of our control. Perhaps, if we accept that reality, perhaps we will be in better position to reasonably talk about risk management as opposed to attain that nirvana of safety. For me, it's more like a fantasy.
Do you want to say something to the group, Mr. McMurphy?
I'd like to know why none of the guys never told me that you, Miss Ratchet, and the doctors could keep me here till you're good and ready to turn me loose. That's what I'd like to know.
Well, fine, Randall. That's a good start.
This is the next level of transitioning into the real world versus being locked up in a mental institution. Where's Kevin?
Kevin?
Yeah.
I'm the maintenance guy. I don't know.
Oh, you're the maintenance?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't find anyone.
Today we are reopening the Connell House after being closed down around 6 months.
Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you.
Yeah, good.
How you doing?
Great.
That's
yeah.
good. Are you
yeah.
glad to be here?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Definitely. It's good to see you. Working out a little bit?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Been exercising every day.
I wanted to go to the hospital my own self. I didn't understand why I heard voices. And I kept going to Linn County Health asking for help, and I was counseling with them. But it didn't seem like it was good enough for me. And so I drank some beer and took a rock and threw it through a window and said, come pick me up, you know. But nobody showed to pick me up. So then I had to go turn myself in.
What did you throw the rock through?
A window.
In a home or an office or what?
In the mental health building.
The mental health building?
I just happened to be beside the mental health building. It was on a Saturday, and I just happened to be right there at the mental health building, and I didn't care. I really wasn't even thinking it's a mental health building. It just wound up being the mental health building. I wasn't mad at nobody there. I just wanted help.
When we opened originally, we really didn't have any negative reaction from the neighborhood until clients' histories, the criminal histories were posted for people to read.
Are you prepared to have someone 100% of the time visually supervising whenever he lights up a cigarette?
You know, that's not something we had discussed. That's not part of his conditional release.
Okay, is that something that, so Connell House is not prepared to say they can do that at this point?
I didn't say we're not prepared to. However, that hasn't come up.
And
I haven't measured it.
things can be thrown over the fence?
Things can be thrown
Do
over.
things get thrown over the fence ever?
Clients, there had been an issue with gum going over the fence.
Okay.
And the neighbor had said something to us about it, and there's no more gum going over the fence.
Alright, thank you.
Looks better than the hospital.
Let's go check my room out.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you, Liz.
You bet.
I'm in McNary Place, and I've been here for a month. It's a secure group home, secure residential treatment facility. Under lock and key, the doors to the outside, so we have to get buzzed out.
This is nice, honey. Beats the heck out of the hospital, huh?
We do groups in here. We do them outside. AA comes, a guy from AA and a woman from AA come.
We've been battling with PSRB to give us permission to work aggressively on discharge planning.
Right.
We got permission. You told me this morning you don't want to go anywhere. I don't understand.
It could be destabilizing big time for me.
It's actually really, really good that you are thinking about this, because one of the issues that we keep dealing with and we keep coming back to is when you get excited,
Impulsive behavior.
your impulsive behavior. I want you to know, Nick, that this is my biggest concern about your discharge. So I want to make sure there's enough time if you do decide you want to do a step
My
down.
time's running out.
Your time is running out.
I just think she was worried that if you go from here, where you're kind of like
I don't
in
want
a-
to go to Gold Beach where I don't know anybody, though.
Well, I understand that.
And I never really thought about that before.
Meet new friends. You didn't know
I might
anybody.
meet the wrong kind of friends, though.
Sunrise, I see it in your eyes.
People who take the time to understand a person with an illness and really get down to the grassroots part of it have to take a lot of time, first of all. Number two, there has to take a lot of understanding and patience, because it's hard to understand and difficult to put up with a long, elaborate story, explanation to get to the truth. The river is ever far stretching. If you look at it, it stretches out and goes to other rivers, even goes to the ocean. The way I feel about illness is kind of like that. You have to go beyond your normal life to attain mental health.
Lord, I sing the song, sing it just for you.
We provide the support groups so that when families and individuals are in the midst of a crisis, when they're undergoing treatment.
I'm here today to help people find a better way to live and to find peace for those that are struggling and to bring about change in America.
I remember the news report. They played part of your 911 call.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
They played part of your 911 call where you told them you had shot your son, and then you turned around and yelled at him because he was bleeding on the carpet.
Yeah.
You turned around and said, "Stop, move it, or you're bleeding all over the carpet." It was bizarre. It was.
Really bizarre.
Yeah. And it was like, what is this woman doing? You know what my thought was at the time? I thought that was like the ultimate cry for help in a sense.
Yeah.
I did not think that you intended to hurt him. That was not my first thought. Certainly not to kill him.
No.
But that you were acting out your desperation.
Driving on the street I take every day, I get a message from you.
You were saying you woke up the first morning here. Can you describe what that was like?
It's been a long time since it was beautiful. Yeah, it was put a big smile on my face. Just to be able to look out and see what the weather looks like without all these sort of blotches. When you look out the other windows, you don't see so clear because your eyes are trying to focus through the little screens you can at a certain distance, but when you're kind of close or the weather's a certain way, it's kind of dark and kind of hard to see through. Oh, it's nice. It's nice to look out and see somewhat of a country look. Brings back memories.
What kind of memories?
Like I want to wake up and just go for a walk in the morning, or go out and it was like snowing this morning, so it would have been perfect for just going out and on the back porch and having a cup of coffee, or out just standing out in the weather. But you can't just go out and do that here, so.
I'm changing all the ways I've tried to live my life. I think I learned it all from you. Without my overcoat, I face the shivering cold, but they want to guide me home.
You don't have to take responsibility for your actions. You can just sit back and say, well, I was crazy at the time. But if you are a real person, you're going to say, I admit that I was wrong. I need help. I just want to be a person that's good. I'm not a person to be scared of, you know.
Be careful. Don't step right there on the left side, over there.
The left side.
Be careful of that. Hold that line with your hand.
Okay.
Now throw it out.
Oh,
You want to try it again?
I'll go down.
Was French that day.
Oh, that's all the way over there.
Yeah, that was a good one, huh? There you go. Hang on. Oh, beautiful day.
No, it's so wet. It's so hot.
The community in and of itself has an unrealistic fear that everybody who's in the hospital, ever been in the hospital, is going to be aggressive or violent or whatever other fears they have. Maybe they have fears of catching my mental illness or something, I don't know. I've heard that in the paper once.
So you understand what the board did?
Yeah. I'm gonna travel to Portland and have my eval. I was told it's gonna stay casual so that it doesn't stress me out too much. It's got me kind of butterflies in my stomach. Nervous.
What do you think you're nervous about?
Leaving. Institutionalization's a wonderful thing. So.
Can you explain that?
Well, I've been here 4.5 years. So for me, going out into the real world, looking at a place that may be the next place I go in the real world, away from the locked gates and the razor wire fence, it's definitely different. The community hopefully I'll be able to go with open arms and everything will be cool.